RockCellarTV, 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 RockCellarTV.
You know, prog rock was music that wasn't as critically acclaimed as other things. Hard rock, there's certain hard rock music that was the same thing. How would you guys, what was your guys' take on critics? Was that something that you guys would take to heart, or was it something you just, as long as we're true to ourselves, that's what we need to be true to?
Yeah, somewhere in between, because we weren't that dedicated to being insulated. We're aware that it's a business and we needed to succeed, we needed to expand, and we wanted to play everywhere in the world, which we sort of almost did. But then, you know, I always think if you believe and take on board the great reviews, you've got to take on board the bad reviews as well. And sometimes the easiest way is just to ignore them both. But we never had ego things. You know, we never thought we were good or accomplished, and whatever level we were at in our own minds, it wasn't good enough. So every album wasn't good enough. The next one needed to be better. Every tour, we were moving forward. I mean, we were learning how to play our instruments, learning how to write music, learning how to entertain, learning how to arrange like everybody else, but we were more honest in admitting that we were learning all the time.
Looking back, you know, now if you can look back with greater perspective or insight, is there a period of time in Tull's history where you think you guys were at your peak as a recording and live act?
I think it's the same answer, really. A lot of people ask this question more for the fact, you know, they want to know what your favourite lineup was, and essentially that they were all friends, and it sort of changed as a metamorphosis from one area to another. And David Palmer joined, and we started getting involved in classical music because he was a conductor and did all that stuff. So we were playing bits of Beethoven, and then Eddie Jobson joined, and we're doing sort of more jazzy things. Dave Pegg brought in folk, but I have when we did Bursting Out, that was the band when it was really successful. We're going around the world playing great venues, and we got on so well. I mean, it had such a incredible feeling within the band, but it doesn't mean anything. You know, it doesn't mean to say it was the best music or it was the best time for Jethro Tull. I think it just changed, and it's like politics. That politics has to have a pendulum, left to right, anywhere in the world. And I think Jethro Tull had that. They had good years. They had years where people didn't like the album so much, but that gave us that longevity. I think the fact that you didn't have a constant product and bombarded people with the same thing every year helped us stay in a long career.
Yeah. The Rock and Roll Fame has been pretty slow to embrace prog rock bands, and they finally have started to afford the respect of these bands. And the fans for these bands get extremely angry about this. It's a hot topic. Yeah. What's your thought? What's your thought? Would that mean something to you? And what's your thought on why there's been such a reticence to induct some of the great prog rock bands like Jethro Tull?
It's a double-sided coin, isn't it? Because I am frustrated, and I would love for it to happen because it would mean a lot. It's a great honour. Like the one Grammy we got, and we'll ever get, I'm sure, was just a wonderful thing. But the way it happened was very, very unfortunate, and that's my big regret in life, that I wasn't there. But the record label told us not to go. They said that you've got no chance of winning it. We're not going to fly you out. You don't need to bother. It was so embarrassing. Of course, people just thought we couldn't be bothered, and it was the opposite. You know, it was a really wonderful moment. But the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I've always thought they don't like us. But we played in the Martin Barre band played in Cleveland, and they invited us to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, took us round. They were so nice. And I didn't say a word. You know, I was like best behaviour, don't even say anything. But I didn't need to. They're obviously so into music. It's a great place, and I didn't realise how intense it is. What a wonderful, historically important place it is.
Yeah. Well, the last question is: tell us about your band. Tell us about the tour you're on now and the type of show that you're presenting for the fans.
It's a mix. It's a mix of what I want to do with my music, and I've now coming up would be the 9th solo album. So on the one hand, I'm learning how to write better music. I'm learning how to write better songs, better lyrics, and I want music that I can play live and it'll be really well received and it sounds great. That's the one half. And the other half is that I'm going to keep the name Jethro Tull alive by playing it really, really well. And I think it's a heritage that's really important, and I'm proud of it. There's a lot of bad things going on, but I'm ignoring that, and through all of it, I just want to make sure that historically that the music goes forward. So I've got 2 things, and maybe a third thing, because I can play any music I want, because it's my band. So if I want to play Porcupine Tree, we do, and we play a track because it's great music, people love it, and we have fun. So it's to me, it's like the old days when you just went on and played a rock show, and it was just energy and excitement and just adrenaline. And I see a lot of bands, and I find it really disappointing when they don't sort of deliver more than just the music and sort of going through the motions, and particularly bands of my era, where they just sort of they've really lost the enthusiasm. That they're just going through the motions, and I think that's terrible. I never ever want to be like that. I want to be the same as I was in 1970 when we were playing with Led Zeppelin, because that's the energy that's exciting. That I think people truly want to see live music if it's that good, and I don't know if ours is or isn't, but that's my target.
RockCellarTV, 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 RockCellarTV.